All right, go ahead.
Well, today is my first day as a full-time agent, and I have a closing today, so very excited.
I love that. I love that. What a great day to start, right?
Exactly.
Okay. All right, we did it.
We did
You
it.
did it. All right. I am so happy to hear that. That is just fantastic in every way.
Truly.
Congratulations. That is incredible.
And I have to point out, you're not sleeping in today. You're up on this call.
Yeah.
I am in the bed.
Well, but you're on the call.
I am in the bed.
You're on the call. Right.
Sorry for interrupting, Bill.
No, here's the thing is we have a choice every single day on how we want to show up or if we want to show up. And you're choosing, and it's quite clear that you have chosen consistently that you're committed to your business. And what do you know? You've had a lot of success, right? So keep it up, right? Today we're going to talk about the connection between the activities and the results, and you are a primary example of that. So congratulations, that is phenomenal. Don't forget, everyone, Tuesday night, 5:30 to 7 or 7:30. We're going to be putting on an event. I forget where it is, but it's in Alpharetta, I believe.
Kona Grill at Avalon.
Okay, Kona Grill at Avalon. And it's going to be in recognition of Markia's journey from part-time to full-time, or I should say, you're a phenomenal example of dual career, right? So let me restate that. Your journey from dual career to a single career. And today, let today be a day where you start to identify those standards and prove to yourself that this wasn't like some thing of happenstance, right? This is a result after very, very dedicated and consistent activities. So awesome. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Anyone else want to say anything? Anyone else want to share?
Yeah, I'll say something. I have come across a lot of challenges, and I'm finding myself getting stronger and more confident, and it's not reflecting on me as much as it would have in the past.
So you're free to go into as much detail as you'd like, but can you give us just a tiny bit more?
Oh, I had a client that was very unhappy with me yesterday, and I made an error and I admitted to it. They were not happy, and I'm like, I made a mistake. I apologize for that. If you don't want to work with me, that's okay.
But Jenny, wasn't it a really minor mistake?
Well, I was going to talk to you about that today. So
okay.
So it was my wording, and there was a misunderstanding there. So, but anyway, the point is that I am getting better at this kind of thing. It's like, usually I just would not want to deal with something like this, but.
Right. So that's actually a pretty common reaction, is to kind of avoid it or unfortunately sometimes just completely ignore it. Right. And one thing that Andy has taught me over the years, he says, when you identify a problem, you run to the problem. Let's get the problem. Let's fix it. Let's either fix it or discuss it or figure out what's going on. It doesn't do anyone any good for it just to fester. Right. What has caused you to be able to kind of mentally overcome that distraction or that hurdle or whatever, and cause you to go back in with confidence? Is there like something that you think about, or is there a skill that you've developed that's allowed you to do that better?
Well, honestly, since I've been at Keller Williams, just what y'all are teaching, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to, fail often and fall forward.
Yeah.
So it's going to happen. And I learned a lot from it. And I'm actually thankful for that I learned through this process. And anyway, and just remembering that, I've got the support, and I know that I'm improving. I'm doing better each day. So
Beautiful, beautiful. Like Gary Keller says, he stands up at a lot of the conventions, and he basically says, like, look, I'm only up here because I failed more than you guys. It's no big deal. I just tried it more. I failed more, and that's why I'm here. I just think from a billionaire leader like he is, it's just a cool attitude to have. While I'm thinking about it, I just want to remind all of you guys, we're probably going to have a couple more, contests and festivals and these kind of, or not festivals, drawings and whatnot about family reunion. So family reunion is the 19th of February, the 18th of February through I think the 22nd. It's like a Saturday through a Tuesday afternoon in February. Hang on, I'll tell you exactly when it is. It is the 19th through the 22nd. It's digital. You can experience it digitally, but it's in Orlando. I'm still debating on whether I'm going to go down there, but I likely will, just to be there in person and see a bunch of people from across the country that I'm friendly with, and highly recommend that you participate or learn more about it, or pop into the office one day and watch the vision speech or something. Like, don't let this opportunity go by without you engaging with it. Right, Candace?
I absolutely agree.
Okay, beautiful.
I'm already registered.
Yeah, I haven't registered yet just because I'm not positive whether I'm going in person. I was looking at hotels and restaurants and all that stuff yesterday. Okay, let's do some talking about lead generation. One of the things that this guy, Jake Yenserila, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing it, and I apologize. He's been teaching this class called the Lead Generate Like a Millionaire. It's a 2-part series. The first part was last week, and the second part is this upcoming week, and it is Tuesday. Let me just double check. Tuesday 1 to 4, right? Is a free class. I highly recommend that you participate in this class. Okay, this is the workbook for it. Yeah, Tuesday 1 to 4. Okay. Now, one of the things that this class is about is really making sure that you understand, obviously, the logic behind lead generation. So I figured we'd start off with some myths about myths and truths of lead generation. Does anyone want to make this kind of a little bit of an active activity? Who wants to read the myth? And then afterward, I'll read the truth. Who wants to start?
Yes, not all leads are good leads. The truth is there are no bad leads in real estate. They're just not all equal.
Okay, what does that mean to you, Lorinda?
First thing that comes to mind is don't judge a book by its cover.
Yes, great.
Don't look at the person or hear the first couple of sentences that they tell you. Dig deeper, do a deep dive, ask tons of questions to get to, whether you're a good lead or not. Just don't take the first couple of things that they say to you. Kind of ask questions.
That's right. You can be very careful. I've seen incredibly wealthy people that do not look wealthy, and I've seen incredibly poor people in really poor financial situations that look like they're made of $1 million. I think the only judgments that you should be making, if this is acceptable to say, is whether they're honest, right? If you're gonna lead me along thinking you're one thing when you're something else, I don't really want to do business with you, right? If you are just in a crappy situation and you need a lot of help, then and you're cooperative and friendly and a kind of a pleasure to be around, I'll help you forever. You see what I'm saying? When it says they're not all equal, what I think that is referring to is they're not all as urgent, or they're not all as valuable. You see what I'm saying? It's not like one's better than the other. It's just maybe better than the other today based on, hey, I need a home this week versus I need a home in 3 years. Does that make sense? Candace, did you want to add something?
I was just going to say, and sometimes just because they're not a good fit for you, they might be a good fit for somebody else. Exactly.
And meanwhile, like a good example of that would be, hey, I want to buy a home in Tequila, right? Could be an incredible lead, could be an incredible partner, well qualified, friendly, on time, all that stuff. They just want to live in Tequila, and I don't know anything about Tequila, right? But we've got agents inside Keller Williams and even outside of Keller Williams that would love an opportunity like that. Make sense?
Good morning.
Okay.
I joined
Good morning,
late.
Nadine.
Just kind of wanted to give a little insight to the not equal part, just to elaborate a little bit more.
Yeah,
that
please.
Also, when I hear not equal, I see where it requires a little bit more digging on our part to truly uproot the need that might not be expressed. So make sure that everybody's on the same page and we understand exactly what the client is looking for. And then with our expertise and our knowledge, we kind of point them and lead them in the right direction. So the equality could also refer to understanding each need individually and how it will all relate to a closed deal at some point.
Yeah, very much agree with that.
Can I piggyback off of that?
Yeah, please.
Also, what I've been learning is with that whole not equal phase, like if your seller or your buyers, if you really don't know their motivation, and depending on where their motivation is, whether they're a 1 or a 10, that's also not equal, because what is a waste of time at that moment is pretty much somebody whose motivation is a 3 and you're treating them like a 9. So knowing the difference between who's a pipeline and who's within the next 30, 60, or possibly 90 days is beneficial to you, so you can maximize your time as well.
Yep, very much agree with that. I'm kind of, Ebony, can I give you some criticism or some commentary in front of everyone?
Always.
Okay. Be very careful with this. Certainly saying it, waste of time, but even be careful thinking it, because like everyone needs the help, and it's only a waste of time if they don't get any benefit from it and you don't get any benefit from it. And I can't even think of a good example of what type of behavior would be a waste of time. It's just you're not prioritizing correctly. But if you thinking that this is a possible behavior that is, quote, wasting time, your body is going to show that to the prospect, and they're going to see it, and they're going to feel small, and that's not what we want, right? So a waste of time. What I was going to say is, it's just not the proper like order of the professional, so to speak. So like if I'm courting somebody whose credit is a mess, right? It's not a waste of time for me to spend 10 minutes with them explaining the process and how I work and what benefits there are to working together. It's just, hey, I'm not the right professional to start this process. Let me introduce you to a mortgage person or a credit repair person they're going to lead the charge until your most your biggest issue is remedied, and then I'll come back in and I can be the right person. I know that's probably you're saying it in this room differently, but I just want to, if you're saying it, it's because it's in your head, and I just want to kind of cut that out. One thing that I always thought to myself when I was looking at property with renters, which is, a lot of people would probably say, hey, why are you wasting your time to do that? You know what? It cost me to look at a lot of homes. right? And it was almost like forced inventory research time. And at least I didn't have to do it alone. And so when I was like driving around these kind of things with the renters, I wasn't saying to myself, oh my gosh, I'm wasting so much time. I said to myself, thank God that somebody wants to hang out with me while I do my job. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I completely agree. And more of, I think that the way that I said it, the way that you said it is exactly what it was that I meant. You know, it's more of like if you have a puzzle piece for the wrong puzzle and you're trying to make it fit and you're going on multiple tours with someone who hasn't been pre-qualified, eventually they will be, but you're treating them like a nine when you haven't taken the necessary steps to make them be that perfect buyer, or their motivation if they're selling is not exactly where it should be. So never, oh no, it's a waste of time, nothing, because I have a lot of renters who are coming back around now and their situation is differently, but it's more because I fed into them. It's just like, okay, well, absolutely I can help, but we can't go touring, you know, if there's no pre-qualifications. It's just more of doing the stuff in order. So we're essentially saying the same thing.
It's a discussion of order, right? It's like the person needs surgery going and hopping on the operating table when they've not done their like intake paperwork. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, I can help you, but the help is you doing this first. Right? We're operating out of order here. Okay, let's kind of go through these a little quicker. I understand a lot of these, you know, need some elaboration. So lead generation is really hard. What's the truth?
Lead generation is really simple and easy, so be careful you don't confuse effort with enjoyment.
Okay, what do you think that means?
So it's like one of those limiting beliefs. Like you think it's hard, but it's not physically hard to do. So your effort. I'm a little confused what they're saying. Like, careful, don't confuse your effort with enjoyment. Like,
okay, let's define those two
words
words for a second. Effort is going to create a bunch of leads. Right. Enjoyment may or may not.
Okay, sure.
You know, it's kind of like if you want to, sometimes the boring or the not favorite activities comes along with the favorite activities. Like, think about this. You know, let's say you really enjoy cooking. Well, when you're done cooking, you got to clean it all up, right? But if you don't clean it all up, then you won't be able to cook. You follow me? So like there are some parts in the process of building a business and finding prospects that you may not enjoy, right? If you love showing homes, great. Now you might have to do something you don't enjoy doing to meet the person so you can show the homes. Does that make sense? So don't think to yourself that like you're going to get complete pleasure from everything that you do in real estate, because it's unlikely.
But I also go ahead, Melissa.
No, I was just quick going to say, it reminds me of a conversation I had with Dustin Kimberly last week. And he laughed at me when I said, I thought lead gen was fun. And he was like, I think you're the only agent I've ever heard to say that. And I was like, well, you know what, Dustin, I put those fun things to me first because they make the harder, you know, quote, harder ones easier to do.
Mm-hmm. What he was implying is that kind of what I said, it just very simply is, you know, sometimes you have to do something you're scared or nervous to do in order to do something you enjoy doing, right? If I want to go on a date with somebody, but I refuse to ask anyone out, like, how's that going to work?
Well, and I was coaching yesterday with somebody, and he said he's calling for sale by owners and expireds, and he said, you know, it's getting easier. And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, well, it used to be if somebody yelled at me, I was done for the day. And he said, now somebody yells at me, I'm like, oh, okay, sorry, I took your time, bye. And then I call the next person because they might be the person I can help. And he said, so I've gotten over that. You know, the part where they yell at me and that stops me in my tracks. And I thought that was a really great progress.
That's a life-changing moment for that man.
Yep, it is. So
in ways outside of real estate too, most likely.
absolutely. So I think sometimes, you know, what I don't like is this has an underlying message that lead gen is not fun. And I think it depends on I mean, I know people who love to cold call. They get up and they're like, "Woo, get to make calls today." And I know
Yeah, I hear
people
that.
who won't get out of bed for that. So I think it's kind of back up to the top one. It's, you know, not all lead gen is equal. And part of that is because of what you bring to it.
Yep, that's right. So I'm too busy, I don't have time. The truth is, it's not an issue of having time, it's an issue of making time. What does that mean?
Well, Bill, I feel like you don't have time for anything unless you make time for it. So I
Right.
could easily not have, like, you have to be intentional about where you put your time in a day and what you use it for.
That's right. It's about prioritizing, and it's about and honestly, it's sometimes about recognizing. Seeing those like social media like add-on apps that basically tell you how long you spend online every day, and you tell me you don't have any time, right? If I do a good job, people will just come to me. Some people will find you, but not enough and not soon enough. What's that mean to you guys? I think that's a big one right there, because I think a lot of times people, when they've not been in sales before and they've got some limiting beliefs about putting themselves out there, they think that they're just going to get enough with like the couple people that they know. And I say, well, who's in your pipeline? Oh, well, I have this listing coming up and I have this buyer coming up. I'm like, yeah, well, who else? Like, even if everything works perfect with those two deals, you're only going to get paid twice. So like, who's next? Right? Some people will find you. Yes, that's lead receiving, but not enough and not soon enough, probably. All right, I can't lead generate because I don't know what to do or what to say. The truth, so lead generation is a set of tasks and skills that are well understood and easily learned. Does anyone not agree with that? I'll take that as a no. I have enough business. There is no such thing as enough business. Make sense? When you have too much business, you just hire somebody. You give a whole nother family, a whole nother income opportunity. How awesome is that? You're creating jobs. Any comments on that one? Y'all with me?
Yes.
Okay. I don't have anyone to help me do everything that must be done. Well, when you get enough of the kind of leads that turn into closings, you'll be able to afford all the help you need. I love that one. That sounds like number one a little bit. If you pay attention to the people that are not motivated or not cooperative or not ready to go, then you're wasting, dare I say it, right? Then you're wasting time. But what you're really doing is you're spending time in the wrong place, right? I don't have the money to lead generate. Generating doesn't have to cost money. Any ahas from that list? Anyone?
Well, Bill, can you go back up to the top?
Oh, yeah, hang on. I was, give me 2 seconds. There we go.
Yep. The second and last one, I don't have anyone to help me do anything that must be done.
To do everything that needs to be done.
Yes. That one. I really like that one because whenever I didn't have enough help, I made sure that I outsourced it, and my assistant, she helped me out tremendously to help me get to this point. And so I had to recognize a couple of things in order for me to get where I am today.
Yep. Because you had to say, like, some of the time, here's an interesting concept, right? If you were dual career, you had even less time to do some of this stuff, right? And so you were still the real estate agent's assistant until you decided that you weren't really able to show up to that job. And so you had to find somebody else to serve that job. Right. So, I mean, I bet there's not that many people out there that are dual career that have an assistant, but that the way that you structured it, it's because that's exactly why you needed to hire an assistant. It's because you didn't have the time to be the assistant. You needed a whole nother brain and 2 arms and 2 legs and 2 eyes to do the job. Make sense?
Yes.
All right, cool. Thank you for adding that. Okay, so I want to, I don't necessarily feel the need to go through every page of this with you when hopefully you're in the middle of taking this class yourself. I just want to highlight a couple of really important concepts here. Okay, the first is, while I'm on this page, so let's take a minute to look at this. Okay, time blocking is setting an appointment with yourself to do your most important work. Okay. And if you are not intentional about determining how you're going to spend your time, someone else will get to determine how you're going to spend your time. Now, is there anyone in here that would prefer to have someone else dictate how they spend their time rather than deciding on their own?
Not I.
All right, anybody? Okay, so why don't you time block? Your time block, your calendar should look like my calendar. Right? I mean, it should tell you exactly what you should be doing every single day. Man, why is this thing so slow? You see what I'm saying? I know this can give some people anxiety. That's what I was told last week, but this tells me who I need to be hanging out with all the time. Y'all follow that? So if your calendar is blank, what you're essentially saying is that you are prepared for other people to create their priorities for you. How do you feel when I say that? What? Lorinda, say it again.
I said anxiety.
You have anxiety when you're allowing other people to create your calendar?
No, not in that side. Looking at your calendar and mirroring my calendar looks similar to that. Said the creation part makes it feel create some sense of anxiety. Not letting other people run my calendar. No.
Okay, well, understand that all that those blocks is just things that are on my 4-in-1. They're just things that I have determined are part of my plan, right? If I want a life by design, then I need to be specific and clear about what I do every day. And so I could potentially argue that if you don't have a calendar that looks like that is, defined in, here's where I'm doing stuff with my family. Here's where I'm doing stuff at my church. Here's where I'm lead generating. Here's a slot I want to put an appointment, right? Here's a slot I'm going to look at homes. If you don't do that, then you're basically willing to allow happenstance to happen. And the more you introduce that into your world, the less your priorities are going to get executed, and therefore the lower chance of you actually hitting all your goals. I mean, isn't there a lot at stake? Isn't the vacation at stake if you don't hit your goals? Isn't the getting out of debt at stake if you don't hit your goals? Isn't the down payment on the investment property at stake? Okay. So if you don't have enough to put on your calendar, then the next thing we ought to be doing is going right back to the life by design and saying, hey, number one, is this completely filled out? Number two, and I know yours is, by the way, I'm not implying it's not, but the step maybe that you haven't taken is looking at all that stuff and then allotting time for all those activities on your calendar. Make sense? Okay. Any thoughts or comments on that, guys? Let's talk a little bit about the difference between marketing and prospecting. Who wants to tell me what the difference between marketing and prospecting is?
I'll take a stab at it.
Please.
To me, marketing is Facebook, social media. I hope I'm right.
Okay.
Don't know.
And why do you say that?
Because I feel marketing is kind of like the passive portion of real estate, and process and damn it, why do I keep forgetting the words? And prospecting. Yes, that is more, it's more direct. It's like where you're individually, hey, Joan, how are you? Like whether you go into Ford or whether you're door knocking, things like that, that's something that is gonna get you, or can potentially get you, an automatic result, whether the result may be you feeding that person's information into your database, opposed to whereas marketing is throwing it out there to the world. It can work, but maybe not, or it's not instant.
Exactly. Well, prospecting generally is much more instant than marketing.
Yes.
That's what you said.
Yes.
You're talking like a business owner. You're making leaps and bounds here. I just want to make sure that doesn't go without being recognized.
Thank you.
Social media actually could be both. There's elements that could be both. So you're exactly right. Okay. What I highly recommend, and what Gary and his team recommend, is to have a prospecting based and marketing enhanced business. So when I talk to somebody who's got no business, what they generally talk about is marketing. Okay. And this isn't directed at anyone in particular, but golden letters, man, it's like one of the most expensive things to do and one of the least things you have control over. And I know why people want to do it. It's because it's not calling people on the phone, and it's something that you can like check off and it feels real good. Problem is it's one of the most expensive things you can do and you have no control, right? Same thing with farming. I think you'll have a lot better success hitting the phones, knocking the doors, hosting open houses every single day, right? So prospecting, you get right to the person and you see if you can develop a relationship, right? Remember, we're not necessarily in the business of finding people who want to transact in 2 weeks. I mean, obviously that would be nice, but that's not the only thing we want. We want relationships. Does that make sense? Okay, so just some examples of prospecting, right? Pop buys, door knocking, one-on-one meetings, right? What if all of you guys took your database and you went and said, hey, I want to find the 10 people that would likely be the biggest VIPs and support systems for me in my business? And what if each of those people gave you 2 pieces of business a year, introduced you to 2 people in their world who needed real estate help? You never have to call a stranger again. Does that make sense? Is this thing on? What's wrong with you guys? Come on.
It's all that wealth of information just sinking in, hence the silence.
Oh, okay. I wish you would have told me that 2 years ago.
But it does make
Like
sense.
that.
It makes a lot
That
of
was
sense.
funny.
Oh, all along, it's just all this information sinking in. Oh, wow. All right.
The Bible says, Selah, pause and think about it.
All right. I'll give you more pausing opportunities, right? Client appreciation events, networking events, parties, group activities. This is like what Candace was saying earlier, like lead generation doesn't have to be miserable. Like if you like, playing golf, go play golf with a different foursome every day. If you like drinking, go sit at the bar all day and chat up all the people that come to the bar. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just about having conversations. Everyone's got to live somewhere. You see what I'm saying? Social media, that could be things like, direct messages and these kind of things, right? Calling your sphere of influence, cold calling people, poking people online, handwritten notes, emails, individual emails, right? That's when you're going straight to the person that might need some help. Okay. Marketing behaviors are things like social media, blogging, buying a sponsorship at like the, high school field or whatever, promotional items like, cups and pens and hats and shirts and these kind of things, farming, just listed, just sold, command campaigns, pay-per-click, video, newspapers, buying the grocery cart or a Yellow Pages ad or something, putting the little sign on your car saying you're a realtor, these kind of behaviors, right? You're putting it out. It's almost one way. You do it and you hope the world responds. Okay. Now that's important for branding, right? So they see your name and hear your name in multiple places. But guys, I just don't think none of us have the market kind of equity, if you will, to only rely on that. You're gonna have to initiate some conversations. Okay. And as a matter of fact, we ask you to do it for 3 hours a day, right? In bold, they say 20 contacts a day. What have you heard so far?
If you want to be one of those realtors who, when someone, sees your name, they know your brand, or they just know your name, you have to put in the work. Like without the work, none of it matters.
And what's interesting is like, I bet you I could go, and, somebody, let me think of how I want to say this. Like, there's hundreds of thousands of people in Metro Atlanta that have no idea who I am. There's millions of people. But I can still have a really nice business by helping, 25, 30 families, right? So you don't need the whole world to know who you are. You just need to make sure enough people know who you are to hit your goals. Does that make sense?
Yes, you know what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does, Bill. So for me, this is what I get out of all of this. Like I've been in sales for like a very long time. So for me, it's find that one thing that you know that you're going to do. You're going to hear a whole bunch of stuff, like you said, the golden letters, the farming, and you have to really get a clear understanding of what each one of those things is and what you're willing to do. So start on one thing, and it's not going to be perfect probably for the first 6 months, but you just keep doing it, add on, and perfect it. And don't stop it, after doing it for a week or a month or 6 months or sometimes a year. Just keep going and just work it. And you have to work it kind of full circle. Like with the open houses, I'm committed to doing open houses at least 2 a month, 2 a week. And I know I'm not perfect with it yet because I don't have signs. So yes, I am borrowing signs from whoever I can. And I'm going to build on it. So I know I need to get signs. I know I need to get all of this stuff in place. And I know I need to go out and, check the neighborhood out to find out where I'm going to put my signs, do the door knocking, just that whole piece, and just keep building on it. And there you go. And
Yeah,
just stay,
So is that, thank you for sharing that. Just let me ask you a pointed question. How different is that from previous sales that you've done?
Well, it's not. The only difference is the product that you're actually selling. It's no different. You just and it's the product and just knowing the product, using
what do you think the product is for us?
I think with real estate, it's helping people, like helping people.
What's the product though?
Homes.
You think it's
Uh,
homes?
I'm not sure. That's why I said just to help people, because I'm not 100% sure what it is, or it could be legacy, leaving a legacy for your family, or I'm not quite sure on that piece yet.
Okay,
I don't.
this is great. Thank you for sharing. I want to really nail this down so everyone fully understands this. What do you guys think the product in real estate is?
Relationships.
Okay. So, but how do you sell that?
You're selling yourself.
Selling yourself, yes,
that's
and
the product.
trust.
Okay, so that's the product. Okay, because Kathy, if you're my buyer and we go to 2 houses today and the house number 1 you don't like, then what do I do as your agent? I encourage you to get back in the car and we go look at something else, right? I don't have to spin it. I don't have to be like, oh, well, if you did this and did that and did
Right,
this
because
and that.
all you're doing is instilling lack of trust. Don't sell me on something that I've already, suggested I don't want.
But the reason why I don't have to do that is because I can sell you anything. I can sell you any one of the 50,000 houses that's available. I don't care. I'll get paid. So the thing that I'm most concerned about is you and I being a team.
Right. Yep.
Right? That's why oftentimes when you're in and out of these properties, you're not being like, oh my gosh, look at this dishwasher. It's the best dishwasher in Roswell. Look at this backyard. Isn't this incredible? It's like, look, I don't know if you noticed this, but that's synthetic stucco and that's wood rot and that's termite damage and these windows won't close. And here's some things that you're going to need to be prepared to deal with, right? They don't need to know where the kitchen is, for crying out loud. They got eyes, right? I want to show them the stuff that is concerning, because if they don't like the house for any reason, that's cool. Get back in the car. Let's go find something different. I'm not here to con you into something or make you buy a home you don't want to buy. Get back in the car. You follow me? So the product is yourself. So then you got to say to yourself, well, how am I taking my product to the marketplace? You follow? How am I dressing it up? How does my product speak? How does my product work every day? You follow what I'm saying? So if you go to work every day, right? If you sit at your workstation and say, hey, it's work time. I'm here. I'm ready to work. Well, then you'll get some stuff done, right? But if you have to ask yourself, are you really giving a full day's effort to your business? I don't know, right? So on this page, you see the lead generation, or the real estate productivity roller coaster, right? If your lead generation goes in waves, then your closed business will follow in waves, right? So this is the issue: is you start up here, you're high lead generating, then you go find some prospects, and while you're servicing the prospects and closing that business, you don't have time, or you've not made time, or you've been lax about your time and your boundaries, and so you have no leads. You got closings, but you got no leads. So then once those things close, you got to go pick up the pace in the lead gen, right? And meanwhile, you got no closings. They'll come, but when they come, you ain't got time to lead gen anymore. You see this? And then all the time you're chasing the next deal and worried about the next check. A better opportunity. And by the way, that's what average producers do. Okay. Top producers, they have a commitment every single day to lead generate. And that's what they do. That's work. They have standards. They go to work every day. Okay. And then their closed business can get parabolic. Any ahas or observations from that?
Many, and it's a lot of fact also. And I'm glad you put that visual together so that we can actually see the momentum that is required through the entire process to keep the volume and the pipeline full. It's again, perspective.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't put it together myself. I just downloaded it, but I appreciate that
No,
comment.
but you found it, so I'll give you credit for that.
So let's look at this prospecting based marketing enhanced real fast, right? We're doing prospecting and marketing. We're creating and offering value. And really what we're doing is we're exchanging value for information, right? I will give you this app where you can search for property if you give me your contact information, right? So that's really that's the barter, right? Prospecting based at the bottom of the triangle is time insensitive, proactive, get immediate response. At the top, it's money intensive, this marketing based, passive and delayed response. You got to do both, but your prospecting efforts should be more. Okay. And then the 4 goals of lead generation, right? Here, let me actually read that quote to you. Any lead generation effort is ultimately worthwhile if it puts you closer to business or referrals, even future business or future referrals. Okay, successful agents believe there are 4 potential goals of lead generation, and any lead can be considered a good lead if it achieves any 2 of these goals. Get the appointment for business, get a referral, build a relationship for future business and referrals, or increase your METs, which is essentially just growing your database. Make sense? So basically, if you just go out there and meet a stranger in the store, barter for their contact information, you've increased the size of your database and you're building the beginnings of a relationship for future business and referrals. That by definition is a good use of your time. All right, here's a limiting belief. Limiting belief is lead generation equals prospecting. Prospecting can only be done by cold calling. And when I cold call, I get rejection. So therefore, I don't want to do it. Has anyone experienced that journey? I assume it's sinking in. Go ahead, Evan.
Like a year ago, if I cold called and one time that somebody told me no, it was just like, okay, this is not for me. But now I'm realizing that you got to stay at it. Like, you're going to get some no's, you're going to get some hesitations, you're going to get all of that. Keep doing it, and the more that I'm doing it, it's fine.
Mm-hmm. Somebody said once, it's like bathing. Like, you got to bathe every day, right? You just got to, it's just part of life. If you're going to be in sales, you got to go find people to speak to every day. There's no way around it. Okay, so unlimiting belief is that lead generation equals business relationship building, and that creates opportunity. And what do you think opportunity creates? Financial independence. Is that just a different perspective? Nadine, I think, used the word perspective earlier. Is that a different perspective? What we find is that when you focus on the outcomes you want to achieve and the choices you have to make to get there, the path unfolds before you. Here's some examples of prospecting and marketing. Okay. And some that are essentially both. Leads, listings, leverage. Y'all recognize that? Let me just show you this little diagram here, and then we'll call it a day. Okay, so understand that lead capture is both for prospecting and marketing. You're going to get leads from both. Okay, that takes you from number 1 in red to number 2. Okay, the definition of a lead, according to this diagram here, is essentially somebody that you've had a one-way communication with. So maybe this is somebody that clicked on your Facebook ad, but you haven't been able to reach them yet, right? So they're a lead until you have a double communicate or a two-way, like you've actually gone back and forth, right? You've kind of determined what their need is, or like you've gotten an opportunity to chat with them. You're maintaining and growing strengthening the relationship. They move from leads to contacts. All of these people are being, number 3 is where you're preparing your contacts for conversion, right? Through interactive offerings, needs-based offerings, DTD2 calls, client events, market updates, social media, poking and all that kind of stuff, so that the people that need help pop out, and then you go service them, and then they give you more referrals, which go right back into your database. Does that make sense? So remember this statistic that approximately 10% of your database, or really any population, is going to move this year. Okay, so if you're sitting here with a database of, let's say, 200 people, and I were to ask you, well, how many of these people are planning to move in the next year? How many people are in your pipeline? And you were to tell me 6, guys, there's 14 other people in your database that are going to move this year. The question is how are you going to figure out who they are? Because if you don't, they're still going to move. It's just going to be that somebody else gets paid to do it. Does that hurt?
Yeah, that's good.
Make sense? Oh, and by the way, aside from who gets paid, are these all people that you genuinely care about? Say yes.
Yep.
Okay, so is there a chance that if they work with the average real estate agent who does 2 to 3 deals per year, and as a result likely needs income elsewhere, which is going to distract their time, which is going to distract their ability to really, really know the market and be really good at what they do? So if they go and find the average realtor, most likely they're going to have a crappy experience, and they are going to likely take risks that weren't necessary. And they are, like, contractually speaking, and they will likely not end up with terms that they could have ended up had they been your partner, because you're better than that. Yes?
Yeah.
So not only are somebody else getting paid, but they're having a lousy experience. If anything, that's why you should be making the calls.
Mm-hmm.
Because you are committed to not letting that happen to your people. Is anyone aware of anyone dying or getting hurt or anything like that by picking up the cell phone? Has that ever happened to anyone? Ebony, all those calls you've been making, you ever gotten hurt?
At first, my feelings, but other than that, no.
That, like they say,
Their feelings were slowly dying.
It's kind of this idea of, success is butchering the delivery, but like you got to pick your hard, right? It's hard when you don't have a lot of prospects and you're worried about money, and like you're starting to get these thoughts in your head telling you you're not good enough, or these kind of things. That's hard, right? But you know what else is hard? Running a business. You got to pick your hard. Like, it's not going to not be hard. It's going to be hard. But do you want to be hard with money in the bank, or do you want it to be hard without money in the bank? Lorinda, you turned on your camera. Did that sting? You're on mute. You're on mute.
No, that didn't sting. I agree with it. But I have a question when we finish all of this. I have a emergency. I mean, not emergency. A concern just came through, so I went off camera because I had to talk. But no, you're still in my ear, so I can address
Go ahead.
that.
I'm pretty much done. I've already taken up an hour of your life. What's your question?
Okay, great. Great. So I have a question, and this is to everybody. I just received a call from my lender for my client who's closing sometime next month. He made it seem as if there was an error with the fact that we are using the seller's attorney. And he asked if my client had her own attorney. Is it normally an issue for your client not to have their own attorney? Or no, actually, I'll take it back. For the client not to use the same closing attorney for the closing.
Who's the lender?
Stratton Equities, some hard money lender.
And you're on the buyer side or the seller side?
Buyer side.
Why is your buyer using that lender?
That's another long story. See, unhappiness on my face. So.
Okay. No, I mean, the attorney represents the lender at a closing. They don't represent the buyer or the seller. They represent the lender. Okay.
That's what I explained to him, but he, a hot shot out of New York, I guess. And he was like, no, normally this is how we do. Oh, but that's not the case. I mean, they're just closing the deal. So, okay.
Yeah, the lender's job is essentially to make sure the title's clear, make sure all the documents are recorded, make sure all the funds are appropriated properly. That's it. So I just call this is not a big deal. Just call the, so take a deep breath, right? You're good. Okay, call the lender back.
On.
Say, yeah, exactly. Call the lender back and say, hey, just want to review a few things with you. The person that represents the closing attorney that's been selected by whoever selected, it doesn't make a difference, the one on the contract, right, is representing you in the transaction. So what are your potential concerns? Because the buyer has their own representation, the seller has their own representation. What concerns do you have that I can help you get addressed? Just leave it at that. Okay. Guys, there's very few emergencies in real estate.
That's why I changed my wording. I changed it from emergency to just a concern because I wasn't sure.
I just had a flashback to one, which was like I walked into a house, pretty nice house. This is probably at the time it was probably about a $600,000 house. Now it's probably closer to $1 million in Sandy Springs. And my client was moving in as a tenant, and we walked in, and the alarm was going off. Right, we walked in to do our initial walkthrough, and make record of, hey, we got a scratch there, we got to stand on the carpet, that kind of stuff. And the pipes had burst, and there was water shooting out of like 20 different places around the home. The carpets were soaked. We were literally walking on inches of water. All the hardwoods were being destroyed by the minute. All of the sheetrock and ceilings were caving in. And I looked around, I'm like, well, this kind of seems like an emergency, but what the hell am I going to do? Like, half the time, I can't even solve the emergency, right? So I had to call a plumber and be like, hey, I got an emergency here that I can't do anything about. You see what I'm saying? As if there was an act of God, there was a plumber actually across the street doing a job at somebody else's house, and came over and cut it off. And, a month or two later, once insurance had come in and fixed it all, my guy moved in. But my point is that even the things that seem like an emergency, oftentimes you can't do anything about. You see what I'm saying?
Thanks for the pep talk.
All right. Very good. All right. Just act like it ain't no big deal. What's your concern, sir? Title's going to be clear. Everything's going to be recorded properly, and get you in front of the closing attorney if you have some questions. What's your concern? Okay. Standard for yourself today. Say to yourself, I will not stop until I speak to X number of people today. That's my job. So what number should we pick, Lorinda? Should we be bold? Should everyone hit 20 today? What? I'll commit to 20. Who wants to do 20 with me?
I'll commit to 20. I throw it out there.
No, you got to say that with a little bit more seriousness.
I commit to 20.
All right, me too. All right, everyone, when they hit their 20, post it in the chat, okay? All right, you guys have an awesome day.
You too. Bye.